Ecclesiastical organization. There is still a lot I have to tell you, since much error has yet to be eliminated if you humans want to live in truth. But my spirit can only work to a limited extent, to the extent which corresponds to your state of maturity. In order to absorb knowledge, which is as yet entirely unfamiliar to you, the recipient's surrender to me has to be so heartfelt that my spirit can flow into him unimpeded. You humans will ask why I allowed such considerable distortion of the truth which originated from me to result in this great spiritual darkness of humanity. In reply to this, I must repeat that man's free will resists any limitation if he belongs to my adversary, whose will he fulfills on earth. Since it is my adversary's sole objective to prevent people on earth from recognizing their God and Creator, since he is only interested in extinguishing or darkening every light from me, and since he has the same right to influence the human being's will, the truth will always be contaminated again. Because the adversary wants to distort my image, he wants to portray me to people such that they shall not feel love for me, and in order to achieve this he will use any means. After I accomplished my act of salvation on earth, my pure gospel was spread across the world by my disciples. They had received the truth from me in its purest form and passed it on equally as pure, since they were filled by my Spirit. However, people's nature varied, their souls were still burdened by the original sin, and they were still a part of my adversary, although he could not force them to surrender to him completely. But the hereditary evils, arrogance and thirst for power, were still present in them to a substantial extent. And these were used by him to influence them and to sow the seeds of discord even among the followers of my teaching, of the pure gospel. And a few people became particularly prominent and founded organizations of their own accord, promoted themselves to administrators, and thus developed an establishment with many earthly and worldly interests. And thus, my adversary, whose greatest objective was to undermine the truth of the gospel, already played his part. Hence the light grew consistently dimmer, and adverse influences established different teachings which were not recognized as misguided teachings, but were ardently defended as allegedly having been conveyed by me to these administrators, who subsequently also demanded faith in them by the members of that organization, which became extremely powerful in due course. Every human being could and should have realized that an organization with people who want to dominate could never have been built by me, because I taught service with love, whereas the adversary's action promotes thirst for power and hunger for dominance. And every person can still form his own opinion today as to where these characteristics can still be clearly detected. However, he has free will. If I had used my power to destroy such organizations, it would have interfered with the human being's free will, because the final maturing of the soul during earthly life has to be an act of complete free will if the person is to achieve perfection. My adversary has certainly erected a work of deception which has caused much harm to people's souls, but I gave the human being intellect and provided him with blessings in abundance. I gave him the blessing of prayer and have come so close to people that they could call to me in prayer. And if only they had prayed for receiving the truth and protection from error, truly, their spirit would have become enlightened, and they would not have been deceived by lies and error. Every person should think carefully, because it is for this reason he has intellect. If he fails to do so, it is his own fault that he is far removed from the truth, that he has allowed himself to be captivated by misguided teachings. Because every human being is my living creation and is intended to reach maturity on earth. I long for his return to me and will truly provide him with every opportunity to do so, but he has to use these opportunities of his own free will. For I do not force this free will, but my adversary cannot force it either. In view of this, you will also understand that I will repeatedly ensure that the pure truth is conveyed to people, that I will expose misguided teachings, prove them to be wrong and denounce them, so that it certainly will be possible for the truly willing human being to live in truth. But he will also have to make every effort to free himself from the structure of lies erected by the one who will always attempt to increase the darkness on earth and employ every possible means to extinguish the light. However, it is difficult for the truth to penetrate because people's thinking is already so distorted that it cannot free itself from traditional spiritual knowledge, and thus every bearer of light commissioned by me to spread my light will come under attack. But there cannot be clarity as long as people are not given a full explanation, and people will continue to fight each other as long as they do not approach me with the genuine desire for truth. Not until then will they receive light and subsequently try to disassociate themselves from spiritual knowledge which they had upheld as truth, but which emerged from the adversary, who is an enemy of truth because he is in hostile opposition to me. Amen.